What's up, guys? Welcome back to Unbreakable Grind. It's your guy CJ back with another video. All right, we're gonna get straight to it. Do not allow this process to your success to be complicated. Let me say it again. Do not allow your path to your success to be complicated. Success is a simple path, okay? And a lot of people are overcomplicating it, all right? Overcomplicating it. Let me give you an example, okay? When I was on my path to success, which I still am, it's a freaking walk, all right? I'm continuously walking that path. People always have things that they try to interject, people always try to interject complexity where there is none. There's no complexity. You know, people want to say, what about the government? And what about these laws? And what about oppression? And what about that law? And what about what they're doing over there in that country? And what about the news? And what about the freaking new legislation? And what about those people across the street? And people have a tendency to overcomplicate all situations. You guys have felt this, I'm pretty sure, right? You say, look, I'm trying to do X, and people say, what about Y? And what about that? And what about this? And you really end up just suppressing your ability to even do anything, all right? So I want to break this down just so I can really make the point and help you guys get moving, because this is something I have to use these ideologies all the time to make sure that I'm not getting stuck, because people have a tendency to get you stuck, man. Marketing has a way to trick you into being stuck when you're not even stuck. You feel stuck because you brainwashed and tricked into being stuck when you aren't stuck at all right? So let me first give some definitions. Get this mouse. Let me give some definitions, all right? I want to give the definition of complex, the definition of complexity or complex, all right? Complex is consisting of many different and connected parts, okay? The path of success does not consist of many parts. It consists of connected parts, but very few, very few, with the largest tier being discipline, all right? I want to throw that out there. Complex. Success is not complex, all right? Now, success is very difficult. Difficult, the definition of difficult is needing much effort. Let me say that again. The definition of difficult is needing much effort. So I want you guys to understand that your path to success is very difficult, but very simple, all right? And the importance of this is that you should not be spending much time wondering what to do next, right? It's gonna probably be obvious, okay? You don't have to be like, where should I do? What should I do? What should I do? What about them? What about that? What about the government? What about this? What about if they come do this? What about if I get with a woman and she does that? What about if a man does this? That's a waste of time. You get what I'm saying? All you have to do is define your goal and allow your goal, define where you wanna be, define the goal and criteria you wanna hit, and let everything else do what it does. I know that might sound a little passive, but it's not. I'll give you an example, okay? The example is like this, right? So remember I said, define what you want to do and let everything else fall where it does. All right? So I'm going to give you an example. I met a guy. This guy said, hey, I want to be like you, bro. You're pretty successful. I want to replicate that. Let me know how I can be like you. I'm like, fine. What skills do you have? He said, I don't really have many skills. I said, okay, what job do you have? Do you have a job at least? He said, yeah, I work in fast food. I'm like, perfect. You work in fast food. That's perfectly fine. Do you make minimum wage? He said he makes a little more. He made roughly $10 to $11. I said, okay, so then do you save at least $8,000 a month? No, sorry about that. I asked him, so you must at least be saving $8,000 a year. That's what I said. He said, how could I save $8,000 a year? I told you I don't make much money, right? So think about this. He's already engaging into some level of complexity, right? Some complexity started to come out, because if you make $20,000, think about this now, I'm keeping it simple. If you make roughly $20,000, 8,000 is less than 20,000, so you should be able to save 8,000. Now I know what people are already thinking. What about his expenses? What about the cost of living? What about this? What about that, right? This is exactly where he went. He was like, how can I save 8,000? I have to pay rent. I have to buy clothes. I have to, pay for my gas. I have to pay for this. He just went down a laundry list of things he has to pay for. And I looked at him, I said, exactly. Exactly. You have to do all of that stuff. That's the problem, is that you have to do everything you just named. You told me you could. What he pretty much told me, if I just simplify this all the way down, he said, I can't do the thing I want to do because I can't reach my goal because I'm prioritizing things that aren't the goal. If I translate what he says, right? If his goal is to save his money so he can invest, because that's what I'm trying to get him to understand, that to be successful, you want to save your money so you can invest your money. That's the idea I want to click in his head. All right. So I asked him, I said, are you saving 8,000? He says, no, how could I save 8,000, which is the goal? How could I actually hit that goal when I'm constantly distracted by things that aren't the goal? Think about that. Do you have your job so that you can pay your rent? Do you have your job to pay your rent? Do you know how many people have a job and they pay rent and they use rent as the excuse to why they don't hit their goals, but you have a job to hit your goals? Meaning the goals should never change. The rent can change. The clothes can change because they're not your goals. Those are just byproducts of living. Your goal is to save. Your goal is to save so you can invest. So why would you change a goal for something that's not a goal? See, and this is where the complexity comes in. That's not real. It's fake complexity. It's fake complexity. The correct way to think is to say, you know what? I have a job. I make 20,000. I have to save 8,000. I don't care. I don't care how it feels. I don't care what anybody says. Import your excuses right here, because people are going to have plenty of excuses. I want to save 8,000. So let me think about this. Let me subtract 8,000 because that's not changing. But I can't pay rent. That means you can't pay rent. You can't say, well, I'm going to start paying rent anyway because somebody told me I have to pay rent. No, you can't pay rent. You can't afford rent. That means keep your 8,000 goal, and now you can't pay rent. So figure out how to solve the rent thing. Figure out how you're going to solve living somewhere, because you can't change the 8,000, because that's the whole reason for having the job. You can't think about this. You can't not hit your main objective because of a distraction like rent, when rent isn't even the purpose as to why you got the job. This simplification is how I managed to not waste my time. See, this is how my path looked. I get a job. I make very little because I had no skills at that time. My goal is to take the money and invest it. So I'm thinking, how do I maximize saving so that I can invest? Because that's my goal. I can get rid of all the things that aren't the goal. So rent, I can just live in my car. Perfect, solved. This is me solving it in my head. Okay, what about food? Well, if I eat bread and peanut butter, that's like $50 a month. Solved. Okay, cool. What about taking a shower? That's kind of nasty. $15 a month in the gym. Solved. What about staying in shape? Oh yeah, I got a gym membership, same $15. Solved. What about gas? Well, if I live in my car, I can park close to wherever I'm going to be most of the time. And that's actually better than actually having an apartment and having to drive the full route each time. So that's pretty much solved too. Okay, I've got the plan. It's obvious. All I got to do is just go work my dirt cheap paying job, save the money. And when I save the money, I'm probably not going to be able to pay for all this stuff, but who cares? Because that's not the goal. I keep my goal, and that's the solution. All right, I'm going to save $8,000, and I'll get to the next step in a minute, right? So I told my plan to other people. This is kind of how it sounded. All right, guys, I figured it out. I know how to get $8,000. Okay, I'm gonna get my money by living in my car. That way I don't have to pay rent. And then I'm gonna eat peanut butter and bread, and I'm gonna put that in the trunk, and I'm gonna live in the gym. What's wrong with you, man? You can't do that. You're not homeless. You can't be homeless, man. You don't have to live like this. What's wrong with you? That's dangerous. See, complexity. See, my simple equation that had no complexity, complex. What about this? What about that? What about this? What if the police come to your car? What about that? What about that? And you end up getting paralyzed and freaking stuck. You end up getting paralyzed and stuck, guys. So understand, if you actually simplify your choices like this and say, hey, this is where I'm trying to get to, that can change, everything else can. It'll keep your thoughts clean and keep you mobile. It'll keep you moving fast and knocking out your goals. You're gonna also notice that other people are gonna continuously get stuck on things that aren't even real roadblocks. They've just been manipulated into thinking that those are roadblocks. You know how many people want to save money, but they can't because they're paying for their rent, but the rent isn't the goal. Saving money is the goal, but they got to pay rent. And they're going to justify paying the rent. They're going to say, well, you got to have a place to stay because of something. Yeah, but that's not the goal. And who's to say you have to have a place to stay? Living in a gym is freaking a better existence. Living in a gym in America is a better existence than most of the freaking society. Okay, now I'm using this bare minimum example to make a point. Okay, this simple example in this case with the young man I was talking about. Okay, he couldn't save $8,000 a year because, which was an ideal goal. He couldn't hit it because he was distracted by things that weren't goals at all. Okay, and that didn't make sense. Now, why am I hitting on that? Because if this young man was able to do what I was saying, if he was able, or if he is able to get that $8,000 in his hands, he could put himself in a position that's further than most people will ever put himself in a position further than most people will ever obtain in decades, right? Because with that $8,000, he can get him an FHA loan, a Federal Housing Authority loan, and this young man could put 3.5% down, which is going to be on a $100,000 house, right? And this young man will be able to put $3,500 down on that house and then get a mortgage with mortgage insurance. And guess what he could do? He'll have a 2 to 3 bedroom house, maybe even 4 in some spots. He can then let people move in and pay him rent. He can have roommates who move in, pay him rent, and the very next year, this young man will actually be a real estate owner. This guy will be a real estate owner who doesn't have to pay for where he lives because he'll have roommates paying all of the rent. So the first freaking year, this young man could have saved $8,000. He could have got the property, like I said. The only thing I have to add in there is he would have had to get a secure credit card at the beginning of that year when he started, beginning of that year, and so that he can build some kind of credit, get the FHA loan, and he can have people living with him a year later. And he could be a real estate guy. He could be a real estate guy with legit real estate, $100,000 property in 1 year of sacrifice. Understand, this is how fast you can hit goals. We're postponing and stretching out goals, dude. You can hit these goals so freaking fast. You can hit them so fast, but everybody wants to walk the line. Everybody wants to fit in the box. Nobody wants to be judged, and it's making success way more difficult than it has to be. Do not make success complicated. It's just difficult. It's going to be difficult to figure out. It's going to be difficult to go in the gym and take showers and then match that with how you're going to wash the clothes in the laundry room, and then how you're going to get the clothes from the Goodwill and store them in the lockers, and how you're going to get around. It's just so difficult. And where do you sleep? And it's uncomfortable to sleep in the car, and it's all this stuff, right? But I'm using this example to show that even if you have a very, very unfortunate situation and you have no skills, you have no earnings, no real earnings at that point, you can still turn that into an abundant situation that's ahead of most people. So imagine if you actually have skills and you actually apply the same concepts. Your life accelerates extremely fast. Like, it is unbelievable how fast you can accelerate your life. Take the young man after he has the real estate. His existence, his living is paid for because he has roommates. He can then go and get a trade. He can take the next step, say, you know what, let me go into a trade. Go into a trade where I come out at least making somewhere between 40 to 50K. Now the young man, after a year getting into the trade, can come out, studying for his trade, can come out making somewhere, high 30s to 50K, something like that. And guess what? Doesn't even have to pay rent. Now he's on another level. Not only does he have the people, his roommates, paying for his house, he has an asset that's appreciating, and he doesn't have the expense of living. He doesn't have to live in his car anymore, and he doesn't have the expense of paying rent anymore. So this guy is on his way to being an absolute baller, okay? And don't even talk about him going and starting businesses from his trade and stuff like that. Or he can go to college. There's so many options. So it's so simple, guys, to be successful. But nobody wants to be, no, everybody wants to add complexity, because nobody really wants to do the hard part of success, man. The thing is your favorite, the most successful person that you can think of, man, they went through some things that they might not talk about. They went through some things that are quite embarrassing. You know what I'm saying? They've wore stuff that might look terrible. They've been judged. They've looked poor. They've looked like losers. They've looked like they haven't had money. All of these things, because they were putting something else as a priority. They were putting their goal as their utmost priority, and they were sacrificing other things. They were sacrificing looks. They were sacrificing an image. They were sacrificing comfort. They were sacrificing all these things just so they can focus and laser focus on one goal. And that made their life extremely simple. This is a simple lifestyle. You just have to accept what comes with your goals. If your goal is to hit 8,000 and you have to not be, you can't pay rent to hit it, that means you simply can't pay rent, which means you can't change the goal. You just have to change the freaking approach. It means you have to live in your car or get another job. You can do that too. You can say, you know what? Instead of, if I really don't want to live in my car, I can work 2 jobs, but I still got to save 8,000 and I'll stay in an apartment. But just understand you're wasting money. But it's, if that's the convenience, if that's the fee worth, if that convenience is worth the fee for you, then shout out to you guys. So I hope someone catches this message. Okay, some of you are out there pushing towards success, and you're probably overcomplicating your own process, and if you're not, you're probably letting somebody else overcomplicate your process. So don't let either one of those happen. Just understand that difficult is a good sign that you're doing something right. You get what I'm saying? Difficult is a good thing. Okay, that means you're going against the grain just like you need to. Keep pushing, guys. And with that being said, guys, I promise to keep the heat coming. If you like this content, hit that like button. Comment, let me know what you guys think about this. Subscribe, and if you want to see the videos immediately, hit that notification bell. Shout out, guys. Peace.